And here we have a new article on thedailyresistance.com. Why Trump's Syria surge will fail. It's actually written by Dr. Ron Paul of the Ron Paul Institute. And as you can see, last week President Trump has already sent Marines and Army Rangers over on the ground there in Syria. And according to the AP, he's going to station some 2,500 more troops in Kuwait to be used as he wishes in Iraq and Syria. And not only is it illegal under international law to send troops into another country without permission, it is also against U.S. law for President Trump to take the country to war without a declaration. Speaking of Congress, of course. Alright, now I'd like to mention something right here. Do you remember last year, last January, when Senator Chris Murphy was actually warning us about the authorization for the use of military force, which ended up being a total rewrite of the War Powers Act of the Constitution? Now remember, only Congress has the authority to declare war. Well, obviously that has not been done since World War II. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and play a video clip of him actually talking about that.
It is essentially a declaration of international martial law, a sweeping transfer of military power to the president that will allow him or her to send U.S. troops almost anywhere in the world for almost any reason with absolutely no limitations. It's safe to say that this resolution is the wrong way to authorize war against ISIS. The language of this resolution is dangerous and it is unprecedented. The American people want Congress to authorize war against ISIS, but they also want us to make sure that we don't send hundreds of thousands of U.S. soldiers back into the Middle East to fight a war that has to be won first and foremost with regional partners. And they certainly don't want Congress to hand over the power to the president to send our troops into any country, anywhere in the world, for almost any reason. And that's what this resolution would do.
And as you can see here from Senator Chris Murphy's webpage, you can find this at murphy.senate.gov. And I'll scroll down here. As you can see, it gives the power to the president without consulting Congress to deploy U.S. forces in any one of the 60-plus countries where ISIS has a single sympathizer. Now, if you also recall last year, Europe did not actually experience this massive influx of refugees from Syria. You know, supposedly they were all from Syria, until Russia started bombing the crap out of them. And you notice that's when they all started splitting off. Suddenly all these military-aged men started flooding into Europe. So basically that was mostly ISIS literally invading Europe, and obviously we know that it's been sneaking into the United States. Now most of us know that by now that when President Obama was in office, he was just putting on a theater show to make it look like he was fighting ISIS, when obviously he was, of course, funding ISIS and supporting them, supplying them with arms, that sort of thing. And like I said, it really wasn't until Russia started blowing the crap out of them that they started fleeing the country all of a sudden. So President Trump, even though he may have good intentions, I truly believe that our military is fighting them under Trump's administration. What is that going to? What kind of effect will that create? Is that going to make them scatter into more countries? And just in case if you didn't know, obviously Bashar al-Assad he actually invited Russia and Iran to basically help defend his country. He even made the statement that if the U.S. were to start bombing in his country, he would literally consider that to be an act of war. So just think about that for a little bit. Now, what I want to do right now is go back to what Dr. Ron Paul was saying here. All right, President Trump says the purpose of the escalation is to defeat ISIS in Raqqa, its headquarters in Syria. However, the Syrian army with its allies, Russia and Iran, are already close to defeating ISIS in Syria. Why must the U.S. military be sent in when the Syrian army is already winning? And does Trump wish to occupy eastern Syria and put a Washington-backed rebel government in charge? Has anyone told President Trump what that would do to cost in dollars and lives, including American lives? How would this U.S.-backed rebel government respond to the approach of a Syrian army backed up by the Russian military? And I don't know if I really need to get into when Bush invaded Iraq, of course, and how we propped up the U.S.-backed government there, and what a quagmire ensued, how that destabilized the region, of course. Now, in this article, Dr. Ron Paul kind of gets into some other end-game scenario type of questions, of course, and he also mentions the idea of Trump giving up on the U.S. policy of, quote, regime change, unquote, and basically giving eastern Syria back to Assad. So, remember, candidate Trump even said he was perfectly happy with Russia and Syria getting rid of ISIS. So I guess my question is Donald Trump going to fulfill his promise when it comes to his foreign policy in the Middle East, and as far as not, trying to be the world's, cop, so the world's policeman, so to speak? Now, I know he obviously talked a lot about blowing the crap out of ISIS, of course. So obviously, with last year's the authorization for the use of military force, as Senator Chris Murphy was warning, I mean, is Trump now going to use his power to basically chase after terrorists, so to speak, anywhere in any nook and cranny around the face of the earth, or is he going to go ahead and kind of be more keep America first and kind of stay out of other countries' business? So that remains to be seen. Keep in mind, he's already been meddling around in Yemen. He's actually been doing Saudi Arabia's bidding in Yemen, of all things. I mean, what the heck is he even thinking? So, like I said, the jury, of course, is still out, when it comes to his use of military force and his foreign policy, of course. So, this is Caleb Hitt. Go check out the article reporting on behalf of the dailyresistance.com and Battle of New Orleans Radio.